Imagine standing in the heart of a dense jungle, the air thick with humidity, vines curling around ancient stones, and the only sound is the distant call of a bird. Suddenly, you stumble upon a crumbling staircase, half swallowed by the earth, leading up to a platform where once thousands may have gathered. Who were these people? Where did they go? Why did their civilization, once so vibrant, simply vanish? This is not just the stuff of adventure novels or Hollywood blockbusters. All around the world, from the misty mountains of South America to the sun-baked deserts of Africa, there are the ruins of lost civilizations, societies that flourished, built monumental cities, and then disappeared, leaving behind only tantalizing clues and endless questions. Today, we're diving deep into the mysteries of these lost worlds, exploring what happened to the people who vanished without a trace. Let's start with a civilization that has fascinated explorers and scholars for centuries: the Maya. Deep in the rainforests of Central America, the Maya built sprawling cities like Tikal, Palenque, and Copan, with towering pyramids, intricate carvings, and sophisticated astronomical observatories. At their peak, the Maya were masters of mathematics, writing, and art. But by the end of the 9th century, many of their great cities were abandoned. The jungle reclaimed their temples, and the people seemed to melt away. For years, the mystery of the Maya collapse puzzled researchers. Was it war, famine, disease, or something else entirely? Recent evidence suggests a complex web of factors: prolonged drought, environmental degradation, internal strife, and shifting trade routes. The Maya didn't vanish overnight, nor did they disappear completely. Descendants of the Maya still live in the region today, but the collapse of their urban centers remains one of history's great enigmas. Contrast this with the story of the Indus Valley Civilization, which flourished along the banks of the Indus River in what is now Pakistan and northwest India. At its height, around 2500 BCE, the Indus Valley boasted cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, with advanced urban planning, sewage systems, and standardized weights and measures. Yet by 1900 BCE, these cities were largely abandoned. Unlike the Maya, the Indus people left behind no grand monuments or decipherable texts to tell their story. The reasons for their decline are still debated: climate change, shifting rivers, economic decline, or perhaps invasion? The silence of their script only deepens the mystery. What's striking is how these two civilizations, separated by oceans and millennia, both built sophisticated societies only to see them unravel, leaving behind more questions than answers. But not all lost civilizations are shrouded in the mists of prehistory. Take the case of the Roanoke colony, established by the English on the coast of North Carolina in the late 16th century. When a supply ship returned in 1590, the entire colony had vanished, leaving behind only a single word carved into a post: Croatoan. Was it a message? A clue? The fate of the lost colony has sparked centuries of speculation. Did the settlers assimilate with local tribes? Were they wiped out by disease or conflict? Or did they attempt to return to England and perish at sea? Unlike the Maya or the Indus, the Roanoke mystery unfolded in the age of written records, yet it remains unsolved. A reminder that even in the modern era, entire communities can disappear without a trace. As we journey through these stories, a pattern emerges. Civilizations rise, flourish, and sometimes fall, often leaving behind ruins that spark our imagination. But why do some societies vanish so completely, while others endure? Is it a matter of geography, climate, leadership, or sheer luck? And what can their stories teach us about our own world today? Let's shift our focus to the ancient city of Great Zimbabwe, once the heart of a powerful African kingdom. Built between the 11th and 15th centuries, Great Zimbabwe was a center of trade, connecting the interior of Africa with the coastal cities of the Indian Ocean. Its massive stone walls, some over 5 meters high, still stand as a testament to the skill of its builders. Yet by the 16th century, the city was abandoned. The reasons remain unclear. Some suggest overgrazing and environmental decline, others point to shifting trade routes or political upheaval. What's remarkable is how the ruins of Great Zimbabwe challenged colonial narratives about African history, proving that complex societies existed in sub-Saharan Africa long before European contact. Now let's travel to the Pacific, to the remote island of Rapa Nui, better known as Easter Island. Here, the mysterious Moai statues gaze out over the ocean, silent witnesses to a vanished society. The people of Rapa Nui built a thriving culture, carving and transporting these massive stone figures across the island. But by the time Europeans arrived in the 18th century, the population had plummeted, the statues had toppled, and the society was in decline. What happened? Theories abound. Deforestation, resource depletion, internal conflict, or the arrival of outsiders. The story of Easter Island has become a cautionary tale about the dangers of overexploiting natural resources, a lesson that resonates in our own time. Each of these lost civilizations offers a unique window into the past, but they also raise universal questions. How do societies respond to crisis? What happens when the environment changes, or when resources run out? Can a society adapt, or does it collapse? And perhaps most hauntingly, could it happen to us? As we continue our journey, we'll explore more lost worlds, from the sunken city of Atlantis to the forgotten kingdoms of the Amazon. We'll examine the latest archaeological discoveries, cutting-edge scientific research, and the enduring myths that keep these mysteries alive. Because the story of lost civilizations is not just about the past, it's about who we are, where we come from, and what the future might hold.
The allure of lost civilizations is not just in their ruins, but in the stories they inspire, the legends, the myths, the tantalizing hints of what might have been. Few stories have captured the imagination quite like that of Atlantis. First described by the Greek philosopher Plato over 2,000 years ago, Atlantis was said to be a powerful and advanced civilization that sank beneath the waves in a single day and night of misfortune. Was Atlantis a real place, or merely a parable about hubris and the dangers of pride? Over the centuries, countless explorers, scholars, and dreamers have searched for its remains, from the Mediterranean to the Caribbean, from the coast of Spain to the islands of the Bahamas. Each new theory brings a fresh wave of excitement and skepticism. While most historians agree that Atlantis is likely a myth, the search for it has led to real discoveries. Sunken cities, ancient shipwrecks, and evidence of catastrophic events that reshaped the ancient world. The legend of Atlantis endures because it speaks to a universal fear, the idea that even the greatest societies can be swept away by forces beyond their control. But not all lost civilizations are the stuff of legend. Some are only now being rediscovered, thanks to advances in technology and a new generation of archaeologists willing to challenge old assumptions. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, for example, researchers are uncovering evidence of vast, complex societies that once thrived where only jungle now stands. For centuries, it was believed that the Amazon was too harsh, too unforgiving to support large populations. But satellite imagery and ground surveys have revealed the outlines of ancient earthworks, roads, and settlements, proof that the rainforest was once home to millions. These terra preta soils, enriched by human hands, tell a story of ingenuity and adaptation. What happened to these Amazonian civilizations? The arrival of European diseases, brought by explorers and colonists, likely played a devastating role, wiping out up to 90% of the population before their existence was even recorded. The jungle quickly reclaimed their cities, erasing almost all traces of their achievements. Today, as the forest is cleared for agriculture, these lost worlds are coming to light once more, challenging our understanding of the past. Contrast this with the fate of the ancestral Puebloans, also known as the Anasazi, who built remarkable cliff dwellings in the American Southwest. Places like Mesa Verde and Chaco Canyon were once bustling centers of culture and trade, with multi-story buildings, ceremonial kivas, and intricate road networks. Yet by the late 13th century, these sites were abandoned. For years, the reasons for their departure were shrouded in mystery. Was it drought? Conflict? Social upheaval? Recent research suggests a combination of factors: a prolonged drought that made agriculture unsustainable, resource depletion, and possibly internal strife. The ancestral Puebloans didn't disappear. They migrated, joining other communities and adapting to new environments. Their descendants, including the Hopi and Zuni, still carry on their traditions today. The story of the ancestral Puebloans is a reminder that collapse doesn't always mean extinction. Sometimes it means transformation and resilience. As we explore these stories, it's important to remember that the narrative of lost civilizations is often shaped by those who discover them. For centuries, European explorers marveled at the ruins of places like Angkor in Cambodia or Machu Picchu in Peru, describing them as lost or forgotten. But for the people who lived nearby, these sites were never truly lost. They were part of living memory, woven into local legends and traditions. The idea of a lost civilization often says as much about the discoverer as it does about the discovered. It's a reminder to approach these mysteries with humility, recognizing the voices and knowledge of those who came before. Let's turn now to the story of Angkor, the magnificent capital of the Khmer Empire. At its height in the 12th century, Angkor was one of the largest cities in the world, with a population of up to 1 million people. Its temples, including the iconic Angkor Wat, are masterpieces of architecture and engineering. Yet by the 15th century, Angkor was largely abandoned, its canals and reservoirs choked with silt, its temples swallowed by the jungle. What caused the decline of this great city? Recent studies point to a combination of environmental stress, droughts, floods, and the failure of the city's complex water management system, along with political instability and external threats. The story of Angkor is a powerful example of how even the most advanced societies are vulnerable to changes in climate and environment. The same theme emerges in the story of Cahokia, a sprawling city that once stood near present-day St. Louis, Missouri. At its peak around 1100 CE, Cahokia was the largest city north of Mexico, with massive earthen mounds, plazas, and a population rivaling that of contemporary European cities. Yet by the 13th century, Cahokia was abandoned. The reasons remain debated: environmental degradation, resource shortages, social upheaval, or perhaps disease. What's striking is how quickly the city faded from memory. By the time European settlers arrived, little remained but the silent mounds, their builders forgotten. These stories of rise and fall, of flourishing and disappearance, are not just tales of the distant past. They are warnings and lessons for our own time. Civilizations are complex, fragile systems, shaped by their environment, their leaders, and their choices. When faced with crisis, whether drought, disease, or conflict, some adapt and survive, while others falter and fade away. The ruins they leave behind are not just reminders of what was lost, but of what might still be possible. As we look to the future, the mysteries of lost civilizations take on new urgency. In a world facing unprecedented environmental challenges, rapid technological change, and global interconnectedness, the stories of the Maya, the Indus, the ancestral Puebloans, and others offer both caution and hope. They remind us that no society is immune to change, but also that human ingenuity and resilience can endure even in the face of disaster. As we journey further into the mysteries of lost civilizations, it becomes clear that the reasons for their disappearance are as varied as the cultures themselves. Some were undone by forces of nature, others by human hands, and many by a combination of both. Yet in every case, the echoes of their existence linger, etched into stone, whispered in legend, and buried beneath layers of earth and time. Let's revisit the story of the Minoans, a civilization that flourished on the island of Crete over 3,500 years ago. The Minoans were master seafarers, artists, and engineers, building grand palaces like Knossos, adorned with vibrant frescoes and intricate plumbing systems. Their influence spread across the Aegean, shaping the cultures that would later become classical Greece. But around 1450 BCE, Minoan society suffered a catastrophic collapse. For decades, scholars debated the cause. Was it the eruption of the volcano at Thera, modern-day Santorini, which sent tsunamis crashing into Crete and blanketed the region in ash? Or was it invasion by the Mycenaeans from mainland Greece? Recent evidence suggests a combination of natural natural disaster, and subsequent social upheaval, the Minoans didn't vanish overnight, but their world was forever changed. Their art, technology, and myths lived on, woven into the tapestry of Greek civilization. Contrast this with the fate of the Nabateans, the enigmatic people who built the rose-red city of Petra in the deserts of Jordan. Petra was a marvel of engineering, its temples and tombs carved directly into the cliffs, its water channels and cisterns sustaining a thriving metropolis in one of the world's harshest environments. The Nabateans controlled vital trade routes, growing wealthy from the flow of incense, spices, and silk. Yet by the 4th century CE, Petra was largely abandoned. The reasons are complex: shifting trade routes, Roman conquest, and a series of devastating earthquakes. The city's decline was gradual, its people dispersing into the surrounding regions. Today, Petra stands as a haunting reminder of how even the most ingenious societies can be undone by forces beyond their control. The story of lost civilizations is not just about grand cities and monumental ruins. Sometimes it's about the disappearance of entire ways of life. Consider the case of the Norse settlements in Greenland. In the late 9th century, Viking explorers led by Eric the Red established colonies on the island's southern coast. For centuries, these settlers farmed, traded, and built churches, maintaining contact with Europe. But by the 15th century, the Norse Greenlanders had vanished. What happened? The answer lies in a changing climate. The onset of the Little Ice Age made farming increasingly difficult, while isolation and dwindling resources took their toll. The Norse clung to their traditions, but ultimately they could not adapt to the harsh new reality. Their settlements were abandoned, their fate a cautionary tale about the dangers of inflexibility in the face of change. In contrast, some lost civilizations were swept away by the tides of conquest and colonization. The Aztec and Inca empires, for example, were among the most powerful and sophisticated societies in the Americas when Spanish conquistadors arrived in the 16th century. In a matter of decades, these empires were destroyed, overwhelmed by superior weaponry, new diseases, and the relentless drive for gold and glory. The fall of the Aztecs and Incas was not a slow decline, but a sudden and violent upheaval. Yet even in the face of destruction, their cultures endured. Today, millions of people in Mexico and the Andes trace their heritage to these ancient civilizations, preserving languages, traditions, and beliefs that have survived centuries of change. The disappearance of civilizations is often framed as a tragedy, a loss of knowledge and culture, but it's also a story of resilience and adaptation. When cities fall and empires crumble, people find new ways to survive. They migrate, they merge with other groups, they reinvent themselves. The ruins we see today are not just monuments to failure, they are testaments to the enduring human spirit. Let's turn our attention to the mysterious Olmec civilization, often called the mother culture of Mesoamerica. Flourishing along the Gulf Coast of Mexico from around 1200 to 400 BCE, the Olmecs are best known for their colossal stone heads, each weighing several tons. Little is known about their language or social structure, but their influence can be seen in later cultures like the Maya and Aztec. By 400 BCE, the Olmec cities were abandoned. The reasons remain unclear. Environmental changes, shifting rivers, or internal conflict may have played a role, yet the Olmec legacy lived on, shaping the civilizations that followed. The same pattern can be seen in the story of the Mississippian culture, which built the great city of Cahokia and hundreds of other mound sites across the eastern United States. At its height, the Mississippian world was a network of cities, towns, and ceremonial centers, connected by trade and shared beliefs. But by the time Europeans arrived, most of these sites had been abandoned. Disease brought by early contact with Europeans likely played a devastating role, wiping out entire communities before they were ever seen by outsiders. The mounds remain, silent witnesses to a lost world. As we piece together the stories of these vanished peoples, we are reminded that history is not a straight line, but a tapestry of rise and fall, of creation and destruction. Civilizations are not static, they are living, breathing entities, shaped by their environment, their leaders, and their choices. When faced with crisis, some adapt and survive, while others falter and fade away. But the story doesn't end with disappearance. In many cases, the descendants of these lost civilizations still walk among us, carrying forward the traditions, languages, and memories of their ancestors. The Maya, the Hopi, the Quechua, the Khmer. These are not relics of the past, but living cultures, adapting to a changing world while honoring their heritage. The search for lost civilizations is, in the end, a search for meaning. Why do societies rise and fall? What can we learn from their successes and failures? And how can we ensure that our civilization endures? These are questions that have no easy answers, but they are worth asking, because in the ruins of the past, we may find the keys to our future.
As we continue our exploration, it's important to recognize that the story of lost civilizations is not just about the past, it's about the present and even the future. The ruins and relics left behind are more than just archaeological curiosities. They are mirrors reflecting the challenges and choices that every society must face. The lessons embedded in these stories are as relevant today as they were centuries ago. Let's consider the case of the ancient city of Teotihuacan, located in the Valley of Mexico. At its height, between the 1st and 7th centuries CE, Teotihuacan was one of the largest cities in the world, home to more than 100,000 people. Its grand avenues, massive pyramids, and vibrant murals spoke of a society rich in culture and innovation. Yet, by the end of the 7th century, Teotihuacan was largely abandoned. The reasons remain a subject of debate: internal conflict, resource depletion, climate change, or perhaps a combination of all three. What's striking is how quickly the city faded from memory. When the Aztecs arrived centuries later, they regarded Teotihuacan as a place of the gods, its true builders lost to history. The city's decline is a powerful reminder of how even the mightiest urban centers can be brought low by forces both within and beyond their control. Contrast this with the story of the Kingdom of Aksum, a powerful trading empire that flourished in what is now Ethiopia and Eritrea from the 1st to the 7th century CE. Aksum was a center of commerce connecting Africa, Arabia, and the Mediterranean. Its rulers minted coins, built monumental obelisks, and adopted Christianity long before much of Europe. Yet, by the 8th century, Aksum had declined, its cities abandoned, and its influence waning. The reasons are complex: shifting trade routes, environmental changes, and the rise of rival powers. But the legacy of Aksum endures in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, in the legends of the Queen of Sheba, and in the enduring spirit of the Ethiopian people. The story of lost civilizations is also a story of discovery, a process that continues to this day. Advances in technology, from satellite imagery to ground-penetrating radar, are revealing new sites and rewriting old narratives. In the jungles of Cambodia, for example, researchers have uncovered vast networks of roads, canals, and temples hidden beneath the forest canopy, evidence of a complex society that once rivaled Angkor. In the deserts of Saudi Arabia, ancient stone structures known as mastatuls have been found, predating the pyramids of Egypt and hinting at a lost chapter in human history. Each new discovery challenges our assumptions and expands our understanding of what is possible. But with discovery comes responsibility. The ruins of lost civilizations are fragile, threatened by looting, development, and the relentless march of time. Preserving these sites is not just about protecting the past, it's about honoring the people who built them and ensuring that their stories are not forgotten. Archaeologists, historians, and local communities are working together to safeguard these treasures, but the task is immense. Every year, more sites are lost to neglect, conflict, or the pressures of modern life. The fascination with lost civilizations is not limited to scholars and scientists. Popular culture is filled with stories of hidden cities, ancient curses, and forgotten empires. From Indiana Jones to Lara Croft, from novels to video games, the idea of discovering a lost world continues to captivate our imagination. But the reality is often more complex and more interesting than fiction. The true stories of lost civilizations are tales of ingenuity, adaptation, and survival.
as well as mystery and loss. Let's not forget the role of myth and memory in shaping our understanding of the past. Many so-called lost civilizations were never truly forgotten by the people who lived nearby. The ruins of Machu Picchu, for example, were always known to local Quechua communities, even as they remained hidden from the outside world. The legends of the Amazon, the stories of the Hopi, the oral histories of the Aboriginal Australians all contain fragments of lost worlds preserved through generations. These stories are invaluable, offering insights that written records and archaeological digs alone cannot provide. As we reflect on the fate of lost civilizations, it's tempting to see them as cautionary tales, warnings about the dangers of hubris, environmental destruction, or social division. And indeed, there are lessons to be learned. The collapse of the Maya, the abandonment of Angkor, the fall of Cahokia all remind us that no society is immune to crisis. But there's also hope in these stories. Time and again, people have found ways to adapt, to rebuild, to carry forward the best of what came before. In the end, the question is not just what happened to the people who vanished without a trace, but what we can learn from their experiences. How can we build societies that are resilient, adaptable, and sustainable? How can we honor the achievements of the past while preparing for the challenges of the future? These are questions that every generation must answer for itself. The ruins of lost civilizations are not just relics, they're reminders of our shared humanity. They tell us that greatness is possible, but also fragile. They invite us to look beyond the surface, to seek out the stories hidden in stone and soil, in myth and memory. And they challenge us to ask, what will we leave behind? Will our own civilization one day be counted among the lost, or will we find a way to endure? As we close this chapter of our journey, remember that the search for lost civilizations is far from over. New discoveries await, new mysteries beckon. The past is not a closed book, but a living story, one that we are all a part of.
As we reach the end of our journey through the world's lost civilizations, let's pause and reflect on the deeper meaning behind these stories. The ruins, the legends, the unanswered questions, they are more than just puzzles for archaeologists or fodder for documentaries. They are a testament to the enduring mystery of human existence, a reminder that history is not just a record of what was, but a living dialogue between past and present. Consider, for a moment, the emotional impact of standing among the ruins of a lost city. The silence is profound, broken only by the wind or the distant call of a bird. You can almost feel the presence of those who came before, the builders, the dreamers, the everyday people who lived, loved, and struggled in these now empty spaces. Their hopes and fears, their triumphs and failures are etched into the stones beneath your feet. It's a humbling experience, one that connects us across the centuries and reminds us of our own place in the grand sweep of history. The question that lingers is not just what happened, but why does it matter? Why do we care so deeply about the fate of people who lived and died thousands of years ago? Part of the answer lies in our innate curiosity, our desire to understand the world and our place in it. But there's something more, a sense that the stories of lost civilizations hold lessons for us, warnings and inspirations that are as relevant now as they were then. Take, for example, the recurring theme of environmental change. Time and again, we've seen how societies rise and fall in response to shifts in climate, the availability of resources, or the health of their ecosystems. The Maya, the ancestral Puebloans, the Norse of Greenland all faced environmental challenges that tested their resilience. Some adapted, others did not. In a world grappling with climate change, deforestation, and resource depletion, these stories are more than ancient history. They are urgent reminders of the need for foresight, flexibility, and stewardship. But the lessons of lost civilizations are not just about survival. They are also about creativity, innovation, and the power of human connection. The people who built the pyramids of Egypt, the temples of Angkor, the cities of the Amazon, they were not so different from us. They dreamed big, took risks, and left behind legacies that still inspire awe. Their achievements remind us of what is possible when people work together, harnessing their collective knowledge and imagination to shape the world around them. At the same time, the stories of lost civilizations challenge us to think critically about the narratives we construct. Who gets to tell the story of the past? Whose voices are heard and whose are silenced? For too long, the history of many cultures was written by outsiders, explorers, conquerors, or colonial powers who often misunderstood or misrepresented what they found. Today, there is a growing recognition of the importance of indigenous knowledge, oral traditions, and local perspectives. The search for lost civilizations is not just about uncovering ruins, it's about listening to the people who have kept these stories alive, sometimes against great odds. As we look to the future, the mysteries of the past take on new significance. The world is changing faster than ever before, driven by technological innovation, globalization, and environmental pressures. In this context, the stories of lost civilizations are both a warning and a source of hope. They remind us that no society is invincible, that change is inevitable, and that the choices we make today will shape the world for generations to come. But they also show us that human beings are capable of extraordinary resilience, creativity, and renewal. So, what happened to the people who vanished without a trace? In truth, very few societies disappear completely. More often, they transform, adapt, or merge with others. Their languages may fade, their cities may crumble, but their influence endures. In the genes of their descendants, in the traditions that survive, in the stories that are told and retold. The Maya still celebrate their ancient calendar. The descendants of the Khmer still honor the temples of Angkor. The spirit of the Inca lives on in the music, art, and festivals of the Andes. The search for lost civilizations is ultimately a search for ourselves. It's a journey into the heart of what it means to be human, to build, to dream, to face adversity, and to leave something behind. It's a reminder that history is not just a series of dates and events, but a tapestry of lives, each thread woven with care and meaning. As you walk away from the ruins, as you close the book or turn off the screen, remember that the story is not over. New discoveries are being made every day. Hidden temples revealed by lasers, ancient texts deciphered by computers, forgotten cities emerging from the jungle or the desert. The past is alive, waiting to be explored, understood, and cherished. And perhaps as we face our own challenges, climate change, social upheaval, the search for meaning in a rapidly changing world, we can draw strength from the stories of those who came before. We can learn from their mistakes, celebrate their achievements, and find inspiration in their resilience. The civilizations of the past may be lost, but their lessons are not. They are gifts passed down through the ages, waiting for us to listen. So, the next time you hear about a lost city, a vanished people, or a civilization that disappeared without a trace, remember, their story is our story. Their fate is a mirror, reflecting both the fragility and the greatness of the human spirit. And as long as we remember, as long as we seek to understand, they are never truly lost.